What's going on, everybody? It's Capes and Cowls. It's the big thing. It is Friday. Thanks for joining us once again. Lots to talk about. Obviously, the big story of the week, the big comic book movie story of the week is Ant-Man Quantumnaia, Ant-Man and The Wasp, Quantumnaia. The trailer hit. How is it going to change the MCU? Well, there's a producer out there saying it's going to be a significant change. Eternals 2, anything happening with that? Well, that's something that we could potentially discuss. Reed Richards is going to be rumored again. This time not Diego Luna. It is not John Krasinski. Nope, it is Adam Driver. So maybe we'll get into that as well. There's a few other things on the table, the potential that we can talk about. And it's going to be myself and Winston A. Marshall here today. Coy is out and about doing his thing. So it'll just be the two of us today. Now, speaking of that character, last week had one of the biggest flubs in the show's history. And if you want to go and check out exactly what that is, it's the Black Knight, and you can get the shirt right now. Black Knight, the shirt is on sale. It is still on sale. You can still get it. Yeah, the link's in the description. I'll put an iCard. And also, if you walk around and you see people who think they know everything, and you see them all the time, and you don't even want to say anything, you don't want to confront them, you can subtly just wear this shirt. That's right. Just walk right in front of them, and they won't even know that you're talking to them, and just flex your chest out and show them that they don't know ish. That's right. They don't. And there's other things, too. Sith Council, show some class, capes, and cows. It's all there. You can get yourself one of those shirts today, so please do so. I mentioned the Apple Podcast. We have a partnership now with Cast Media. We're very excited about that. Helps us out tremendously. If you head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found, download the episodes. Even if you watch on the YouTubes, help with the podcast. Please and thank you. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Trying to get the show on the road, man. Trying to head on out. We're looking at New York. We're going to be trying to get to Boston. We're going to look to go to Texas. We're going to do a lot of different things. But we need to get to that number. So help us out. All right. It's me and it's Winston. Let's do it. It's Capes and Cows. It's a big thing. Come on. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Capes and Cows. Big thing. It's me. Nice to see you.
Hey, what's up, bro? You good?
Now I am. It's just
all that rain really messed what you did.
It did because we had the stupid leak, but it's better now.
That was wild. Like for half a second, all that rain here in LA, I thought I was gonna drown. I thought I was gonna drown in like my gym in my building because I don't like walking. I normally walk to LA Fitness from my house. I'm not gonna do it when it's pouring a tsunami outside. Like, I'm good on that. So I went to the one downstairs, and I get down there, and all of a sudden I hear, I was like, what the hell? And all of a sudden just, like, not a full flood, but just like hardcore, just like dripping out of multiple spots.
It was
and
nuts.
I was like,
I took my dog on a walk, and it was like I felt like I was in a rainforest. Dude, I was like, it was nuts.
I know people love to clown us as far as like, oh man, you Los Angeles people, you so soft.
No, this was real rain.
This was bad.
This was real rain. It wasn't just like a couple drizzles here and there. It was
a full real. 36 hours.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, so we got a lot to talk about, and if you didn't know already what we've been doing, if you haven't joined us and you're just tuning in maybe for the first time, or you're coming back after a couple of weeks, whatevs. We're gonna be talking about a bunch of stuff that's in the news. And the way we do it is before the show starts, I list a bunch of the topics that I think are relevant and that I think will be interesting. And then Winston and I will go through. I'll start with one, then Winston will go, and we'll spend an hour talking about stuff.
I feel like I'm on the $100,000 pyramid because normally you tell me ahead of time what we might be talking about. And I heard some of it in the intro, but like obviously you just tease it, so I don't even know.
We're that good, Winston. We don't need to do that anymore. We're that good.
I mean, that's fair. Good. That's fair.
Why don't? Yeah, it's true. So we're gonna go and we'll start. I'm gonna bring up the list, and I'm gonna start. You know what? I'm gonna let you start. You can if you don't know the actual. If you don't know the list, that's okay.
Fine. I'll just look at them.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, a lot of stuff here seems interesting. I think probably the most interesting to me is the Eternals 2. There's no plan for that.
Yeah, so
that's kind of wild.
Well, that's the right now. There is a story out there, and again, we get a lot of our stories here from comicbookmovie.com, and there's a story going on right now. Okay, so this is, again, from Comic Book Movie. IGN.com, despite rumblings that Eternals 2 is moving forward at Marvel Studios, Kingo actor Kumail Nanjiani confirms he hasn't heard anything about reprising the role in a possible sequel. So, Eternals remains Marvel Studios' only rotten movie on Rotten Tomatoes. And seeing it was released at a time when people were still reluctant to head to theaters, we don't know how much that affected box office takings. By no means a flop and far from a hit, the franchise now appears to be sidelined, similar to what happened with The Incredible Hulk. There have been recent rumblings about a sequel heading our way during the multiverse saga, while reliable scoopers are claiming that Tiamat will return in a big way in Captain America New World Order and Thunderbolts as the MCU's source of adamantium. Recent projects have been rife with Kingo Easter eggs, but actor Kumail Nanjiani confirms he is still in the dark when it comes to any possible Eternal sequel plans. He says, I mean, listen, I have plans today. I don't know if they have plans. I would love to come back, but I'm sort of waiting to hear if it's going to happen or not. I'm hoping to get to do more. I had a great time playing that character. It'd be a shame if he's sort of one and done, but, the decision's not mine to make. And Marvel Studios enlisted A-list cast, so the fact they don't know what the future holds is a little worrying. Then blah, 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 blah. Insiders say that it was recently reported that we should expect Judgment Day and a more cosmic sequel. I don't know. So there's a lot to this. This is just from him in general, but there's a lot that kind of goes into that, right? I can understand where they would say, okay, look, the movie didn't perform.
Right.
People don't care as much, but it's hard to factor because it's similar to the Hulk, but different because of what they mentioned in the article, and that's the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. And then at the time when people we're just going back, I think it was like one of the first movies. I think Ghostbusters and that were like the first two movies I saw in the theater. You and I saw this together, I think.
Yeah, we did. And no, because you and Coy had the discussion about it, and I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, so maybe Coy and I saw it together.
Probably.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
But no, because it was Fast 9. Because that was the whole commercial with Vin Diesel. It's so happy to have you back in our family. That whole thing was running for a while. So I remember. So yes, this is one of the first major blockbusters outside of Fast and Ghostbusters. And it obviously was split. Like, we loved it. Yeah. A lot of people didn't.
A lot of people didn't like it. I really did. I'm looking forward to rewatching it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so I am not surprised if they don't do a sequel. I think it would be very stupid to leave the characters out. You set up too much that they're important.
Yeah.
So you just maybe repurpose them.
The way they did with the Hulk. Yeah, and I think that's kind of that's the best plan, I think, if they're going to, at least to see if you can get it. Because look at the Hulk. There's a different thing with the Hulk also, because the Hulk, the rights for the Hulk are still tied up with Paramount, I think.
Universal.
Is it Universal? Universal.
It's the Hulk.
Right, Paramount was the other ones, right.
Hold on. It's one other big character. It's the Hulk and
somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. But either way that happens, and it's happened. Namor. Right. So that's not the case with Eternals, but there's still that idea, almost like what maybe they should have done with Black Adam, right? Mm-hmm. Is put them in a few movies. Mm-hmm. Get the audience even more like, oh, I want to see a spinoff, because if the Universal rights weren't tied up, mm-hmm. Hulk has become significantly more popular over the last couple of films, that his standalone film, I believe, would have done much better today with a Ruffalo and stuff than it would have right away. And that was the second movie out of the MCU.
It was.
So this is a different thing. I think that it probably makes, if I'm Feige, I'm going, yeah, you know what? We need the characters because we need them to tell a story. We set up this whole thing with the Celestials sticking out of the freaking planet, mm-hmm. so we need to figure that out.
That was the biggest thing out of the story. I did not hear that they were going to have Tiamat be the source of adamantium. That to me, out of all of the story, I'm not entirely surprised that maybe they said no mm-hmm. Eternals 2. I am shocked that that's the route they're going to go with how they get adamantium is through Tiamat. That's crazy, but that's good to know. I mean, I guess that, to me, I look at this story and I'm like, okay, there's the nugget there.
Yeah.
Because we're not learning more about how this is going to go down. So
yeah, it's interesting. So anyway, I mean, I think that we'll find out more as some of what's coming out right now for them. Right, they've got Ant-Man coming out, obviously, which we'll talk about in a moment.
The Marvels, but that's at the end of the summer.
Yeah, and then Guardians. So they have those three. Those are the three movies that they're focusing on right now. And then they also have Secret Invasion that's coming out. Is Ironheart coming out this year?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, they did push Echo.
Okay.
Echo's being pushed, so whether or not that even sees the light of day, who knows? But that's a lot. And is there any? And then Loki comes out as well.
Loki
so they got a lot coming out.
And What If 2.
Right. So they got a lot coming out this year. So they don't have to, they can kind of take their time with it because they don't, I guess, Comic-Con, right? Are they going to do the same thing again? Are they going to start, like, play into what's going to happen?
And Deadpool 3 is not this year. It's next year?
I think it's next year, yeah. 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you do something similar. I think you have a situation where you'll release a majority of it at Comic-Con. You maybe, I guess they didn't really save anything for D23 other than a trailer.
There was nothing. D23 Marvel showed a lot of the same stuff. There was a couple things. I mean, they did Thunderbolts and there was a couple other things that they showed. I mean, they showed a Loki trailer. They showed more, but the actual like announcements, they shouldn't say they didn't do it. They did a ton at D23, but it wasn't like the big kind of explosion that they did at Comic-Con.
And I'm not saying that you have to, but if I was them, I would personally split it 50-50. I would go part one, part two, and you go in, you give us some major heavy hitter and a couple shows at Comic-Con. Yeah. Because you're still gonna win.
I don't know if D23 is this year though. I think it's every 2 years.
Is it every 2?
Yeah, I don't know if they changed that. I mean, it used to be every 2 years.
If that's the case, then fine, you give away the whole farm at Comic-Con. But
and another reason you might want to give away, if it is every 2 years, reason you definitely want to give away the whole farm, this one is because even though they said there's no competition with DC. There's always
coming swinging.
There's the big ups. There's like there's always that thing. There's, of course, you say if you're Marvel, there's no competition when you're the only game in town. That's what WWE said for well, there's no game in town. But when it looks like there could be a new game in town, you should start. You should flex,
dude. Nothing is more exciting as a Cowboys fan than when
unknown caller.
Hey,
worst. Stupid. Shut off.
It turned back on. It's all good. It's all
gonna be
good.
Cut out. I know you don't regret it.
There's nothing I can say. You brought up the rivalry of DC and Marvel. There's nothing that I actually appreciate more than as a Cowboys fan than when another NFC East team is good, let alone multiple NFC East teams. Because then all of a sudden I feel like I'm actually fighting for something. The competition pulls more out of you.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I at this point, and if I go back and look at my life, like I always loved Batman. I've always loved a number of DC characters a lot. Robin/Nightwing has probably been my favorite superhero all of growing up, and I guess it's the connection as a kid being a superhero. But I look at it, X-Men was so important to me. Spider-Man was so important to me. Right. I realize I'm kind of more of a Marvel head in that regard, but that doesn't mean I want to see DC fall. I want them both to thrive. Of course, that's what you want.
You would hope that's the case sometimes, but for some reason, a lot of times people take it like it's you're either a Boston Red Sox fan or you're a Yankee fan or a Cowboys fan or Giants fan. It's like
See, the problem with that is with sports specifically. I know I brought that up as an analogy. There is only one trophy. There is only one person is the best team, and that's something you're actually.
And if you've been rooting for a team the whole entire time, and like it doesn't serve your team justice in the playoffs if the Giants win and your team loses, right? If the bad Marvel movie comes out and is a great DC movie, you still win because you're a fan of movies,
right?
That's what people don't.
Absolutely, and on that point. If a superhero movie fails and then another superhero fails and it doesn't matter what studio, all of a sudden people don't want to see superhero
and
movies.
People are going to start saying that the case, I guess, fits. But anyway, this is the age-old conversation for sure. But I think that when it comes back to how they're going to play it out, Comic-Con will be DC's going to make some big, huge announcements, and so will Marvel. And I think Comic-Con this year will be massive. For sure. But all right, we're going to shift on over. I'm going to go, and we're going to get right into this thing, and we're going to talk about Quantumnaia, because if you saw that trailer, if you're watching the show and you don't watch that trailer, what are you doing? Unless there's some people who are just avoiding it. I understand. But the stakes look to be huge on this thing, right? So Marvel Studios VP of Production and Development, Stephen Broussard, says that the next month's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumnaia is far more than just the third Ant-Man film on a bigger scale. The project marks the first movie of the fifth phase of the MCU and sees Paul Rudd, Scott Lang facing off against the main villain of the multiverse saga in the form of Kang the Conqueror. In the new film, Scott and his family are sucked into the quantum realm after an experiment gone awry and have to find out they must find a way out of this strange and dangerous world. So this is what he says. He said, we talk about movies like Captain America, The Winter Soldier, in which you saw the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it felt like the entirety of the MCU turned on that. Captain America Civil War was another film where you saw heroes divided and in camps and battle lines being drawn. It really felt like the future of the MCU was going to be defined by the action of that film. We really liked the idea of making this Ant-Man film as important and integral to the MCU going forward. So I think that all of this, I don't think any of this is hearsay. I don't think any of this is hyperbole. I think it is all true. Mm-hmm. I think that if you look at, I think that this is a marketing thing for sure, because if you look at what Peyton Reed said when Peyton Reed was interviewed a couple months ago, and he was saying, I've basically made a plea to Kevin Feige and said we've been an appetizer, something to cleanse the palate on the first two films, which has been fine, but I want this to be like an Avenger level type movie, and everything inside of that trailer seems to be pitched that way for sure. The stakes seem to be huge. Out of all three movies, it seems to have the biggest stakes out of all three Ant-Man movies. I don't like how much they showed in the trailer. I think they showed way too much. I think they showed the ending of the movie, which is really stupid, and I've done that before, and it's turned out to be bad. I hope I'm wrong, but it looked like it. But the movie looks fantastic. Kang looks devastating. Jonathan Majors is one of my favorites right now, so he's going to have a crazy year. But first of all, thoughts on we haven't talked about the trailer, and then the comments by VP over here.
I intentionally watched it on my phone, and I went one and done. I've been doing more and more of these trailer reactions, but as we're
getting it too.
I've been watching more. I've been doing more and more trailer reactions on my own channel and whatnot. But this one in particular, the reason why I did not do one is because I did not want to watch this multiple times. Mm-hmm. I was good with seeing it one time, seeing it in a space where I couldn't pick up on details, because as we get deeper and closer, it's exactly what you said. They give too much away. And so the only thing that stuck with me is, I don't have to win. We just both have to lose.
Hated that they showed that. I hated it. That clearly looks like the end of the movie. And I hope that I'm wrong. I hope it happens in the beginning of the film. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, because I had said it a few different times. I think that Scott Lang dies like 20 times in this movie. And I'm just hoping that that's not the last fight.
Yeah.
And because I also don't want Kang to lose.
Yeah.
Because if he loses in his first movie,
this would be my guess. He does, but he doesn't lose in any sort of way that is like
diminishes him.
Because of who Kang the Conqueror is, he has this constant thing of where he either fully decimates them, or he gets his butt whooped, but not really, because he literally he's a master of time and space. So he's just like, all right, fine. And then another him who's now aware of how they're going to handle him one way, he handles them a different way. So like if he does, it similar to what he said as the He Who Remains in Loki.
Yeah.
He'll be like, bro, there's like infinite of me that are willing to conquer. I'm not, and I think that's what we might get here. You might get rid of one Kang, but the next one's waiting.
Right. There's infinite versions of him.
And that's what's terrifying is that again, he just continues to learn from his mistakes and then not do that and do something else and really mess with you. Because he's ruthless. There's a reason why he's called Kang the Conqueror. So either way, I like that Peyton Reed pushed for this. Rewatching the first Ant-Man, you guys should watch our rewatch on this on the Patreon. The Ant-Man movies actually do have a lot of weight to them.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, they're treated with a lot of the writing I've been doing, a lot of the focus on supporting characters is that they need to be integral to the story. Mm-hmm. But they're not the focus. And as you watch those movies, you go, this is integral to the story, but like Scott really isn't even the lead in his own films. It genuinely is the tech and what this is going to mean for the thing. So I would really appreciate and love to see this further growth. From the beginning, it's always been about his daughter. I want to see how this is going to ultimately make him make bad decisions.
Well, I also love the idea that because of that, and because of that, what I always thought was not weird, but just they never not as addressed was he wakes up after or comes back in Endgame, and after missing 5 years, not to mention the 3 years he missed out on her life when he was in prison, right? Not to mention like the other 2 years he missed out in Ant-Man 2 when he's basically, he's spending time with her, but he's locked into his house for those other 2 years. So he has lost so much time with his daughter. And as a dad, I can understand because we know they have set it up to where he's not a deadbeat dad. He loves his daughter. He really, Cassie to him is everything. He loves her. So the idea that he would want to make some kind of deal with Kang to get that time back, it makes sense. Yeah. And I like that they're exploring that. And I think that really gives more weight to Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2, because then it makes it feel like a full-on trilogy, and it doesn't feel like just like a kind of standalone film because, oh, well, these other movies, because Peyton Reed wanted to do a big Avenger movie, now this is just big and it doesn't feel like it connects to anything else. I think it will. I also hope that, because I have, as I told you, I'm rewatching the MCU, and my daughter's watching it for the first time.
Okay.
We're at Endgame right now.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so with that, we finished Ant-Man because it's one of the last ones before leading up to it too. And
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one. And I still feel the same. What's and I talked about this recently. What's bizarre is that if you would have asked me, 2 months ago, what movie I would prefer, Ant-Man 2 over Guardians 2, I'd say, and I would have said it. Yeah, of course, Ant-Man 2. I'd absolutely pick Guardians 2 now over Ant-Man 2. Ant-Man 2 is what I initially had the problems with Guardians, is that there's too much, like everybody feels like a comedy character in that movie.
Same thing, bringing up supporting characters again. What made Michael Pena and that crew work is because they were in the film, but they didn't feel like a focus. You came to the second one, you're like, you liked it so much, we're going to give you twice as much. And
even goofier.
It was too much.
Yeah, I love Michael Pena, but he is not a real character. In the first movie, he's a real character. He's just that guy, that he's got that thing about him, and he's funny, and he's trying to make things work, but he's a sitcom character in part 2.
I think it's just the fact that he got more screen time. Honestly, because the character still rings exactly the same, but the difference is
look at the writing though, dude. Look at the writing of him.
It's sugar. If it's the same consistency, but if all of a sudden instead of 1 spoonful you're getting 4, it's just too much.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I don't think, and there's no chance that they have. I mean, they'll be in the movie,
absolutely,
but there's no chance
that
they're
T.I. is not though.
Is he not in it?
He got, if I remember correctly, he got in some trouble, and so I think he's gone. If I could be wrong about this, but I think he's gone.
Okay, he was good, and I hope David Dastmalchian is coming back as well too. But I mean, I want to see them. And not look, I like both of them, but I don't want to diminish their work, but I think that the characters would serve better if they're. I don't want to see them anywhere near the quantum realm. If I swear to God, if they, and I know they won't, if they have a scene with Kang the Conqueror, it's like, please, this is two different movies.
My only guess, if this idea of these multiple Scotts are coming out of it because of it, maybe. They might, in some world, maybe like one of the Scotts that came down there brought the crew, but I don't see his version of them just like they're the whole time ride or die. They're probably there in the beginning. You might see some version of them down in the quantum realm, and then I think that might be it.
I'm also so interested in how they're going to, because what they need to do in this movie as well, like obviously it's going to play to the MCU fans. We know, and there's tons of them because you've been following it since the beginning. So the casual fan that goes in to see this movie is going to be like, what the hell is going on?
It's yes. And there is a certain level of, since we did kind of a start over, you could kind of walk into it. But at the same time, you are asking yourself, as a movie, I believe the movie will be fine. But like someone walking into Return of the Jedi and you didn't see the first two, sure, you can watch the movie front to back. You're not going to understand a lot of what's going on because you didn't watch the first two movies that clearly set all this up.
Right.
I don't feel bad for those people. As long as the movie as a movie coherently works and you can watch it by itself, fine. But if you're confused, you've decided to come into the middle of this.
It's true. I mean, it's one of those things where the movie itself, though, even for people who are caught up in that just are casual Marvel fans, it's like you do, and even hardcore fans, you really have to explain these new rules of all the different Scotts that you just mentioned, all the different, like if you didn't watch Loki, right? If you didn't watch these particular things and just watch the movies, because I think this is going to be a big setup, and we might talk about it in a little bit on Secret Wars, right? Like because that you start to set all those rules that these certain things can happen. That I feel that Secret Wars is going to be just bonkers.
Yeah. As it was as an event, comic book wise, if it's not, we shouldn't even be treading down this path.
Yeah,
because the same was true with the Infinity Saga. Like some of the one thing that was very interesting to me, they did a really good job of really getting you in your feels. But Thanos was ruthless in the books. Like at one, because like the X-Men are involved. Like it's all of Marvel.
More ruthless
right?
than the movies. Yeah.
So, like, for example, like the X-Men are there trying to also help stop Thanos because obviously there isn't a movie deal split. Cyclops at one point shoots Thanos with his eye beam and he gets pissed off about it. So the dude puts an impenetrable glass box around his head so he suffocates trying to like the most violent deaths you could possibly think of. And obviously you got to tone that down if you're doing a PG-13 movie. You can't. They did some stuff, but you can't do all of it. And but they did a good job emotionally getting you there.
Well, here's a question for you then too: is Secret Wars that it seems because there's rumors that Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back, right? Is Thanos going to come back?
Potentially, I doubt it. I think you let sleeping dogs lie in that regard, but I would not be surprised. Okay, you know what?
Just turn it off. That's what I did.
Yeah, there we go. You have a situation though where you might see a Thanos. He's not going to come in any sort of major way, I don't think, where he's like hardcore helping them or whatever. That's more of a Doom thing, and that's where Doom is like, oh no, we're all screwed. But then also, I'm going to take this power for myself and screw you guys.
And then Kang kills Thanos. That would be hilarious.
In an instant, how quickly
that's what I mean.
That might be
like,
why.
It's almost just like, yeah, you thought that guy was like, if Thanos kills me, I walk up behind him 5 seconds later and kill him. Like that would establish like, oh, so Thanos isn't in this at all. He's just there to show you that he's insignificant compared to what this guy can do. That would be a big up.
It would be. It's not a bad plan, to be honest with you. But yes, I don't think Thanos would play any major role. He would be Snoke. That would be it. Which
would be great. I mean, if he just had like a little cameo where like it looked like he was going to show up again, and then Kang comes in and just takes him out quick, you're like, oh, like this is like child's play compared to what this guy can do.
I think that them doing that was low-key. Because remember, he goes to the TVA and the Infinity Stones are paperweights.
Right.
I think that was the acknowledgement that we have surpassed
nothing.
that by a lot.
That's right. And it's funny because it's every time you see them, especially Scott, like he's been running around in the quantum realm, and you're looking at what he's doing, and he's got a lot of energy. And I think it's because of athletic greens. I'll tell you that.
You sucked me in completely. I was completely confused. I was like, yeah, he does look like, oh, you bastard.
Let me tell you about athletic greens. Athletic greens, AG1. I love it. I love them. I've been using AG1 for a long time, and I told you about it. I mean, I've been telling you about it. You guys know. You've been watching or listening long enough. You know how much I love AG1. I didn't have the time to take 1,000 different vitamins, and I just couldn't do it. So when Brett told me about it, I was like, look, let me try it. It tastes good. It puts everything all together. And I've been taking it for months. And I have my energy. I get better sleep quality. I love it. You just take one scoop of AG1 and you pretty much take like 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, all of it. And you start your day right. It's the best. It's lifestyle friendly. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar. It costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. I'll tell you that. It's the best. It's cheaper also than getting all the different supplements yourself. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews. It's recommended by professional athletes. It's the best. I love it. You guys know that I love it. I've been talking about it forever. We have it on the shelf. It stands out on the shelf. So if you want to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. God, I love this. I really do. I love Athletic Greens. All right, so thank you to our friends over at Athletic Greens. Once again, if you want to help out the show and you want to help out yourself, get yourself some Athletic Greens. Let me know when you get it, though, too, and let me know how you've been liking it. We send it to Athletic Greens and let them know that our viewers and our listeners have been checking them out. And use that code, man, athleticgreens.com/bigthing. All right, Winston, you're on the clock, man. You got
Yeah. All right, so we talked about Eternals. We talked about Ant-Man. I want to talk about Giancarlo Esposito. He wants to be Professor X, and I am here for it. I'm sure you're going to read the story.
Giancarlo Esposito has reiterated his interest in playing Professor X, explaining that he's desperate to play a good guy. Despite that, Magneto and Mr. Freeze also remain of interest. Giancarlo Esposito is without a doubt phenomenal at playing villains. We've seen that in everything from Breaking Bad to The Boys, Far Cry 6, but it appears that the Mandalorian star is ready to be a hero. He was on Jimmy Fallon, and this is what he said. I love what Marvel does. I love that the fans can see me in this universe and are not proposing not only one character, possibly Magneto, possibly Mr. Freeze. The actor says in the video below. And the biggest ask is Charles Xavier. But look, I want to play a good guy, and Charles is smart. He's good. I feel as if there might be some mileage with me and Marvel. I know I love what they do. I know I love creativity, so who knows what can happen. I'm going to keep putting it out there. So, and you do that, and when you have Giancarlo out there kind of championing for this role, and he's so beloved, and another reason why it's more likely, I don't know if he's necessarily going to get Professor X, but he'll show up in Marvel because he wants to. He wants to get paid also, but he wants to be. He loves doing these things though too. But he has a relationship with Disney, and he's had all the. I've actually had a chance. My favorite. I've actually met him a couple of times. My favorite encounter with him, I think I told you this, was at Star Wars Celebration this year. I was checking out in my hotel room, and for the hotel, and he was there with his daughter. Did I tell you this already?
No, you didn't. You just told me you met him, but you didn't tell
me
I
had met him at Comic-Con years ago too, and he was awesome. But he was standing right in front of me with his daughter, and I had said to him, I was like, Giancarlo, I don't know if you remember we met years ago, blah blah blah. But I just wanted to let you know that your speech yesterday at on that panel was just fantastic. What you said, and he put his hand. He said, "I'm Giancarlo," and I said, "I know," and he said, but right away, the first thing he did, "This is my daughter." And he was more about right away. Didn't let his daughter stand there. He made to introduce and had a conversation, but he was just engaged in it. It wasn't one of those things where like, I gotta talk to this person now too. And I didn't take a picture with him. I didn't want to bother him. I just wanted to tell him that I was really kind of moved by his speech. And he just engaged and wanted to have that conversation. And he's just very genuine in the way that he brings himself about. And I think that's what kind of transfers over on screen.
That is why he plays such phenomenal villains.
Yeah.
I think it's also why he would do a phenomenal job as a good guy.
Yeah.
But it's one of the biggest things that I learned in school is that you cannot, as an actor, you cannot judge your character. You have to remember that they are also human, whether or not they are a human with completely different morals than yourself. They're still human. So all of those decisions, where they're coming from, what's spawning them on, and he understands that. He makes every character he plays so grounded, no matter what the circumstances, no matter if you're a Colombian drug lord,
twirling his mustache,
whether you're a Colombian drug lord or one of the major leaders in the Empire going for the Darksaber, it doesn't matter. He grounds the hell out of him. So I can't think of a better actor to play Professor X, especially because Professor X in and of himself, yeah, he's good, but you want to talk about a complicated character. Your best friend is trying to commit genocide. And so there's this weird thing where you're kind of fighting him, but you're not. But then there's also, he makes bad decisions all the time. There's a bunch of storylines where he's in love with Jean Grey, and it's weird because he's kind of like her adoptive dad.
Right.
So there's a lot of really off-base things with Professor X that I think he could genuinely bring to life and make it incredible. Not only the goodness in him, but the darker components.
Secret Invasion or Secret Wars is supposed to come out 2025 or 2026?
I believe.
Are you sure? Oh, they moved it, right?
I thought Dynasty was first and Wars was second.
That's true, but they were coming out at one point. It was 6 months within each other, and then I think they moved it. But it's a Secret. Let's see, Secret Wars release date. We'll find out in a second here. May 1st, 2026. So at that point, because the deal with the X-Men characters and all that stuff, how they have to, because right now you can only use what's his face,
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, no, you can use all the characters, but if you're gonna use them, you got to have Hugh Jackman. That's why they probably had this deal. That's why they probably brought him into Deadpool, because you're like, hey, we want to use Wolverine, and we might as well use him. If they're gonna use Patrick Stewart, they used him in Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? So they'd have to use all of them until I think the deal ends in 2025. So the thing is, but I don't know how it works and what the legality is, because if you're going to have to shoot that movie at least in 2024, 2025. Right. So if the X-Men, the new X-Men show up in that movie, The question is, how does that work legally? Does it work like can you shoot and use them, but you can't release it until 2026?
This would be my guess, that they maybe work out some sort of deal this way. You can have the new cast be involved if the old cast is also involved.
I don't think that's the deal, though.
But when you can, I know it's not, but I bet you that's something that they work up, because if, again, you have variance to bail you out of this, right? So it's a situation where, like, it's Secret Wars anyway. You were going to potentially have different versions of different everybody all over the place. I would not be surprised if it's a situation where it's like, well, this is the X-Men from 323, which happens to be the Fox universe or whatever it is, right? And then, here are the X-Men from the 616. And it's like, they died because the incursion, whatever. Right. And now this is our new one. And then you do not see them again until it is fully done the following year.
I just don't know when it ends, though. If it ends like January 1st, 2025, and then you're still, let's say you start shooting Secret Wars in the end of 2024 or like late 2024, but you know that the deal ends on January 1st of 2025. We go, okay, shoot all the X-Men stuff in January.
Are you telling me that they can't even shoot it, or they just can't release
That's what
it?
I don't know.
You're not sure.
That's what I don't know.
I have to believe it's one of those situations where you just can't release it.
You can't put them on screen. That's what that's why I wonder what the contract says. Can you not release it? Can you not cast? Can you not do like that's what I mean? I don't know.
The only thing I guess that maybe seems dangerous then, and is because of how leaks fly fast and furiously. Maybe that's the concern, is you hold off until 2025 on all of it just because you've taken all the meetings and you've kind of tipped your hat like, okay,
right,
Kristian, we got you for Colossus here, but we're not going to talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, I
want Feige in here for like 2 hours. I just want to talk to him for like 2 hours.
He's not going to answer that question.
The deal itself, he might.
You think he would?
The deal itself, because it's a contract that you probably, I don't know. I mean, that's the type, he's not going to give you spoiler. If I said, well, does that mean that the X-Men are going to be in Secret Wars? He's not going to tell you that.
No.
But if you ask, like, what is the actual deal? How does that work with the actual X-Men? He might tell you. I mean,
so then is that the same with the Fantastic Four?
No, I think there's a different deal with them. I think it's
interesting.
I think
it's just all owned by Fox, but they just did it differently.
I think because you had successful movies behind you, and you had successful actors that were probably still getting, had money in the deals and all that type of stuff too. Where you had a couple of fart bombs with Fantastic Four.
I'm just so surprised. I get that. I guess I'm just so surprised that when the merger happened, that wasn't something potentially addressed one way or these contracts. It just seems
it's probably
weird.
the actor's contract. They want to honor the contract. It's got
mergers are just weird based off of everything we're seeing with Warner Brothers. I don't understand how this is.
I don't know how it works. But speaking of, let's do that then. Speaking of Fantastic Four, man, these rumors keep on coming. They just keep on coming. Every other Thursday, there's a new Reed Richards, and it seems like that's the case. Again, here we have Adam Driver is apparently, this is from the direct and hence their thumbnail. Fantastic Fours is now saying that Adam Driver eyed by Marvel Studios for the lead role. Again, this is a rumor. Adam Driver, the actor behind Kylo Ren for the Star Wars sequel trilogy, may be a frontrunner to play the MCU's new Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. Development has been heating up on Fantastic Four, with WandaVision's Matt Shankman confirmed to direct, while Disaster Wedding's Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer penned the script, with production expected to begin later this year or early next year ahead of the February 2025 release. Fan casts are at an all-time high. Obviously, one of the most discussed roles come with Reed Richards, who will lead both the team and the blockbuster movie. Penn Badgley, John Krasinski, Diego Luna, all have been rumored, but one recent actor has been Adam Driver. Snyder's been breaking stuff left and right, man. Recently shared unverified information that Driver might be in line for Mr. Fantastic, or possibly even Doctor Doom. But while he stated that this cameo from an unproven source, he noted that it smells right to him. And now a new rumor added further fuel to that fire. During a recent video beyond the trailers, Grace Randolph now hinted, saying that Star Wars Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, could be in the running to play Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, in the MCU Fantastic Four reboot. According to the direct's own source, Driver is Marvel Studios' top casting choice to play Reed Richards. Randolph said that the actor is a frontrunner for a certain stretchy role before sharing her hopes that he lands the role. There's a lot. There's a lot here. I don't know why at all, but out of all of the rumors that have hit Penn Badgley, Diego Luna, I feel like this one is real.
Yeah, and this is no knock on Penn Badgley, on Diego Luna. My favorite personally was William Harper from The Good Place, and oh my God, it was a show on HBO Max, Love Life, I believe is what it was called. He's a phenomenal actor.
Okay. William Harper?
Yeah.
Okay.
William James Harper, William
Look.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But anyway, William Jackson Harper, excuse me. Oh my God, I know people are just butchering me in the comments right now because I couldn't remember his middle name. But here's my only thing with Adam Driver doing it. I'm not anti it. He kind of has that look for it. And again, Reed Richards, a very complicated character because he's the smartest man in the universe. He's kind of a prick. And like he has moments where he does really, really awful things because he thinks he's better than everybody. And
that's why Adam Driver is perfect.
But I think that's why he would have, in my opinion, if the other rumor he's tied to is Doom, I think he would have crushed Doom.
Well, that's the whole thing, though. If I'm Adam Driver and I'm Adam Driver's people,
just done playing a villain.
I just did Kylo Ren and now I'm gonna play Dr. Doom. It's like
the only thing with that potentially is you got to remember Doom. Everybody keeps harping on Kang, and it's not that Kang isn't, but Doom is up there with Kang, with Magneto.
Oh yeah, I know.
All-time great. And on top of that, we just mentioned that Reed has that darkness in him. So, there's moments like that. I
want Henry Cavill to be Doom.
I mean, yeah, that would be really good.
He's like, okay, fine. You want me to play Superman? I'm going to play the biggest villain. Henry Cavill, he's a big dude. Good-looking guy, because when Doom took off his mask, you're like, oh, Doom's a good-looking dude.
Until he is so, and that's the whole thing with Doom. Doom was a good-looking dude, and then because he had such dysmorphia, he thought he was ugly. He put a sculpting mask on his face and scarred himself.
Right.
So I think Cavill actually would be
amazing.
But
Driver.
I guess that's the other thing too. Driver, in my opinion, and again, this is no knock on Luna or anybody else involved. Driver is the biggest name out of all these names being associated with it, even above Krasinski, and Krasinski would be the only one maybe just because of what he did with Quiet Place and The Office.
Yeah, they both have star power. I think Driver probably because he's tied to Star Wars, obviously, but yes,
Star Wars, Marriage Story, a nomination, all that kind of stuff.
All the girls, everything that he's done, and he's a really good actor. And I think that you make a really great point that when you're running with Fantastic Four for a new and I agree, and we've talked about this. I think Tarantino's comments were taken out of context because I understood what he was trying to say with when he was on Stern about
that it's not you're not selling the
actor's not selling it. He's right. It's when it comes. It was the way that he said it that I think that people took offense to it. But he essentially said that it's Iron Man that gets people in the theater, not Robert Downey Jr. It doesn't mean it doesn't lend to the performance. Of course it does. The actor itself is what if you cast incorrectly, your movie could stink. Yeah. But if you get a great performance, it's the character that's selling it. And this is going to be something because Fantastic Four had those Tim Story movies, which is just, you talked about sugar before, just complete. There's nothing to them. And then the disaster that Fox did with Josh Trank. This is something they really need to do with Fantastic Four, and Kevin Feige loves Fantastic Four. Everybody loves it. They want to boot it. To get Adam Driver as your lead, it probably makes sense. Yeah. I can understand why if he is the top guy, the top choice, I get it.
You've already and for all of the drama that came with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, he carried that trilogy. Like everybody did their role. Daisy Ridley was phenomenal. John Boyega was
one of the strongest characters.
But I think when I think about that trilogy, my mind anchors to Kylo Ren. Honestly,
I'd say Kylo Ren. I'd say he and Daisy Ridley together.
Ray is super important.
I think Kylo Ren is the villain who had something to do.
I genuinely, I'm not putting him in Darth Vader
Yeah.
caliber, but in the same way that honestly, Star Wars, that original series, to the point that you made a prequel in the first place,
Right.
was carried by Darth Vader. Everybody loves Luke Skywalker and Yoda and all that, but Darth Vader, that people, they hear the theme, they see the red lightsaber,
Yeah.
the voice, like that. Most people, when they think Star Wars, I have to feel like that's the first thing they think of when
I don't want to get into a Sith Council episode with you, but like I'm not agreeing with anything.
You don't
you're
agree
saying.
with that?
No, that Darth Vader carries the movie. Is he a massive character that people love, and even though he's a villain, yes. And did he do something did he capture everyone's imagination? Sure, but I think it was everything. There are people that think that Luke Skywalker carried. There are people who think that Princess Leia carried. There are people who think that Han Solo.
How about
carried.
this?
The droids are started.
Carries it in the way that Michael Jordan carried the Dream Team, in that they are all superstars on another level, and they individually have their own Hall of Fame lexicon. So, like, people think again that Magic Johnson.
I'm not with you.
I think
Vader's only in the first movie, like 15 minutes, if that.
I understand that, and
you
he's terrifying.
You think that? Yeah, I'm not disputing that, but he's not. But he doesn't carry the movie. He has a major impact on the entire franchise. He's a major impact. I think that's what made Star Wars so special.
Franchise, not that. I said originally that trilogy.
Yeah,
so
but I think Star Wars. I think even the trilogy. We're gonna. That's what I'm saying. We're going to change.
I guarantee people are already arguing about this.
But Adam Driver being in this role is a smart move for them. And the other thing about it, the reason why it works is he's lanky.
Yeah,
and I believe that he could stretch his arms out and everything too. I think because you ever seen him in person? He's a big. Lanky dude.
I haven't seen him in person, but all I need to see is that argument with him and Scarlett Jo in Marriage Story where he punches the wall. You can see how he's just
he's a big lanky dude. I think that you could really. I think that the visual effects people would have a freaking field day with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a brilliant. I think it's a great move. I do. I think if I feel the only reason I feel like I said in the beginning of this conversation why I think it makes the most sense and carries the most weight. It's because it makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. I think that out of all the cast, and I love Diego Luna, I don't see him as Reed Richards. I can see him in. If they cast him as Reed Richards, do I think he could pull off and bring a different vibe to him because he's such a brilliant actor? Of course, but I don't see him. I see him in Marvel. I do. Yeah. I think that he's having Marvel conversations for sure, and I think he's going to wind up. And he even said it when I asked him about it. He's tied up for a little bit.
Yeah,
with Andor. So Adam Driver seems to be available. I bet you Adam Driver gets cast, and I bet you Adam Driver gets announced sooner than later.
Huh. I don't. You know, it would be interesting. Maybe Diego Luna as a Silver Surfer.
That would be cool.
That would be a really cool. Like,
yeah,
I think his take would be, especially. I mean, obviously Adam Driver's Star Wars too, but I think Diego does have that kind of cosmic mischief energy about him, obviously with Andor. So, like, I think that Silver Surfer would be a great.
That's a good call. I like that as well. So I'd love to see him do. I mean, he's great. I'd love to see him do more, but I don't see the Reed Richards side of it too. And I'm very curious of how, like, who would have been great. What's his Johnny Storm, is that's the one that Taron Egerton would be amazing at.
Yeah.
If they, I don't. He was rumored for Wolverine. He's rumored for all these things. He'd be great in that role. Like,
I think he would kill it either one. I think Wolverine or Johnny Storm. Yeah. I know that they have different vibes, but like you're talking about his anger at a Kingsman or his like F-boy personality at a Kingsman. Either one you can lean into pretty 100%. Heavy.
Yeah. I think he'd be great, and he's got that look. So yeah, either way, I think that this is a This could be really good casting, but I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think that Adam Driver is the right person for Reed Richards? Because the other argument to be made against it is because of what Winston was saying, how recognizable he is as Kylo Ren and how much of a force, pun intended, he did have in the Star Wars series. Is it too distracting? Can you see past, Kylo Ren, and can you see Reed Richards? So go ahead. Let me know what you think. I want to know. Go ahead and comment.
Complete random side note. It was funny. I was rewatching our show the other day, and my girlfriend Kristian goes, "Man, Kristian has just the most elegant radio voice. Like he's got a voice for radio.
Oh,
And like she was like his tones and like
he's got a face for radio.
She didn't say that. She didn't say that.
She should have. It's the truth. Thank you very much. That's very nice. Let's see. Let's go to. You're up. So
It's on me.
It's on you. So we just took. That was the last one. What do you got?
We did the. We gotta talk about that last one, bro. A plea deal.
Oh yeah. It's relevant.
It is.
It's relevant. Ezra Miller has reached a plea deal, and so let's get into that. All right. So Ezra Miller, back in the news. This time, a little different. Not getting in trouble, but answering for some of the trouble that they caused. The Flash film star Ezra Miller is reportedly expected to enter a guilty plea on Friday to a lesser charge of trespassing in someone's home in the U.S. state of Vermont, according to NBC News. Miller was alleged to have stolen several bottles of alcohol on May 1st last year from a neighboring house in Stamford. Miller was later charged with unlawful trespassing, 2 charges of burglary in an unoccupied dwelling, and petty larceny. A clerk for Vermont Superior Court has confirmed to the outlet that the parties have reached a plea deal and agreed to drop the burglary and larceny charge, one being a felony that could have carried a sentence of up to 25 years. Court documents reportedly showed prosecutors are proposing Miller face around 90 days in a suspended sentence, as well as a year's probation and a $500 fine. Miller has been embroiled in a series of criminal cases over recent years related to their behavior, and the 30-year-old actor publicly apologized for their actions in August. At the time, Miller said they had been suffering complex mental health issues and were committed to returning to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life, according to a statement from a spokesperson. It has not been decided by new DC bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran what the future of The Flash is, but test screening reports for the Flash film starring Miller have been reportedly getting rave reviews. The movie comes out on June 16th. Okay, so I have many thoughts on this. The first is it just seems, I believe that Ezra Miller is looking to better themselves. I do. But I also think that it was jump-started because it was, hey, you're either going to do this or you're gone. Because I think it was even like his mom, Ezra Miller's mom was like, listen, you're going to lose us a lot of money. So get it together. And then the next thing you know, after that report, behavior just starts getting better, showing up to court dates, doing this. They couldn't even find him. They couldn't find them. They didn't know who he was. And now everything is, it's like, okay, plea deal, this, the rumors that they might be coming back to play the Flash. There are conversations happening, whether it's with Zaslav, whether it's with Safran, whether it's with Gunn, and it's like, okay, you have to do all of this. Mm-hmm. You got to do the plea, you got to do the $500, you got to do all of it. And then we still can't guarantee that we can bring you back. But
now you have an outside shot.
You got to do the steps. And I believe that Ezra Miller is doing the steps.
Yeah. And that's fine. I am happy to see them taking those steps to better themselves. That's exactly what you should do. I stand by the same thing I said last week, though. It still feels too soon to just absolve you of your sins.
I'm with you. I agree with you.
Continue the steps. Continue this process to becoming a better person.
Good for you.
Amazing.
Yep.
I still think they should be. This is like they should not be associated with the role.
And I think,
right now.
And not even just because of that, which I agree with all of that. Also because it's too freaking confusing. If you're gonna do a reboot the whole damn thing. Mm-hmm. And it's
absolutely
Henry Cavill, who's beloved, gone. Gal Gadot, you're beloved. We don't know what's happened with you. Ben Affleck, probably not coming back. Momoa, he's still in, but he's a different character now. It's like, wait, what? And we don't even know if any of that's true.
It's just it. I still have faith because we haven't really heard anything yet.
Right.
But I gotta say, it doesn't help the situation when DC has been such a shit show this entire time, it feels like it's more the same but a different flavor.
But we don't know yet, though.
But we don't know, and that's the one thing that I was saying up front as a preempt, is that we don't know yet.
Right. So but I agree with you that if the news does come like, hey, we believe in second chances and we want to give Ezra Miller a chance, so Ezra Miller will be returning as Flash in the Flash 2. Then there's gonna be a lot of conversations on this show, on other shows of like, I mean, because we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people not going to be talking about it. People are going to be screaming about it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of those things because I don't think anybody on our panel will agree with the idea. I don't care how good the movie is. And it's not and I was one of the first people to say when Ezra Miller was going through all this and hadn't even was on the run still. Said if they can find Ezra Miller and get them some help, I hope you can get this person help.
Absolutely.
Because they need it. But doesn't mean that just because you're getting help, you're forgiven for everything. It doesn't mean that you should not work on yourself. It doesn't mean that you should get a job. And it doesn't mean that, I don't know, it's weird, man. It's weird.
What is overly frustrating about it, and it's why I keep kind of harping on it, and I'm not saying, everybody should be dealing with the harshest of anything, but I genuinely think about everything that has happened to Will Smith in the past year.
Right.
Over something that criminally, if charges had been brought up, was actually on a much lesser scale than everything that Ezra Miller has done.
Right. Because it was so public, right?
The assault there, you might see like I'm sure there's lawyers that maybe watch this. You're talking maybe a few days.
If it happened behind the scenes and not in front of everybody on the Oscars, it's a very different situation.
Absolutely, but the sentence for slapping somebody like that is maybe a few days, a month, or something. And I can't imagine just slapping somebody like that would carry a potential 25-year sentence.
Right. Correct.
And so that being said, when you're talking about crimes that carry that kind of penalty. And we're just like, whatever, you can keep the role. Just make sure you're going to rehab.
Well, there's two things here, though. No, Will Smith did get some stuff taken away, endorsement-wise, and jobs right up top. Absolutely. And they just had a new movie that came out.
Right.
He's got other things that are coming out again. He's starting to work again, for sure. I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just saying, but there are still opportunities for him available, for sure. But he's not. So he also, I'm very curious, like if the Suicide Squad would have been amazing, the first one. And they had shot the second movie, and he was the star of that movie, and all that happened, and the movie hadn't come out yet, and it got all these reviews of how great it was. Whatever studio would be in the same position with Will Smith, because it's not about, and that's the other thing, that it gets such a blurry line, because everything you're saying is fact, but it's not about Ezra Miller to them.
Right.
It's about the money on the table with the Flash.
1000% understand.
That's the whole thing, because you're right what you're saying, because if you reverse the situation and Will Smith is in the position that Ezra Miller is in with a hit movie that they're saying is as good as The Dark Knight or whatever whoever the star is, depending on what it is going to be, they're going to fight for him. Because they want to make that money and they want this movie to come out.
And you've put a lot of money into it, and I'm not denying that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you.
It's the idea that, again, that rumor last week of Ezra may be the Flash going forward.
Right.
That's more my issue.
And I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
I think because of that, because that's also bringing up my scenario. The question is then, while Will Smith just did that, would they keep Will Smith for the Suicide Squad 3? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Because of the blowback that it got. And Ezra Miller gets to stick around. I don't know.
The fact that this Ezra Miller stuff has been going on for so long.
Right.
Because the first video comes out with Ezra somewhere saying whatever he said to lady, and then them choking that lady out, and we never
don't know what it was. They never addressed it.
It never gets talked about.
No, it's bizarre,
and then it continues to have.
It's gotta have photos of Zaslav in a bathtub with a couple guys in a bathtub with hats on, and Ezra walks in. Say cheese. This will buy me some time.
Maybe that's who because remember Ezra called themselves the Mad Goose Wizard.
Yeah.
And threatened.
Yeah, he's been goosing somebody. It's like something's going on. It's like I can do whatever I want. walked into the plea thing with his wee wee hanging out, and they were like, well, you got to pay $500. Okay, mom, pay it. We're out. I'm gonna run down the street like the Flash.
Oh my
God! It's like
that's been my problem, is that they've been doing kind of whatever they want, and I'm glad that they have finally been started to be held accountable for their actions. But
enough's enough. And this is and I hope this is my biggest hope for this whole thing. I hope that Ezra Miller gets the help, stays on this path. The movie comes out. It's really, really good. They decide to stay on this path, get themselves better. But DC goes, we're going to reboot this whole thing. We're going to move on. And because of the work that Ezra Miller did, people will then, again, eventually, time will say, okay, we're looking at what happened, what is going on now. Why, if you're going into this whole new thing, why do you want, you're already going to have people questioning your decisions no matter what, right? It was Saffron and Gunn. You're going to have them no matter what the new plan is. They have a plan at least. Why go into it with this?
Why go with one arm tied behind your back?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's good. Because again, even to that point, they are different. But let's say it lives in the realm with what happened with Robert Downey Jr. It took time, and then he eventually got back to the superstar caliber level.
Yeah, and he was with the example, but the difference there, he didn't commit any crimes to. I mean, minus kicking around hotel room stuff and everything too. The biggest harm he was doing was to himself,
right? And
you just didn't know if you could insure him. But by the time that movie came around, he was clean. And because I had posted a picture, I was people were asking me to tell the story, but I worked with his wife for a while, Susan, who was my boss, and she invited us to his 40th birthday party, and we all went. And I posted that picture that I took with him. People were like, oh man, that's when he was in rough shape. I was like, no, he was exhausted. He was dancing all night. He was completely sober in that picture, completely sober, and he'd clean himself up. He was doing everything, and that was before. That was like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang time. That was before, and he was just coming. He would come around the Silver Studios all the time, and just talk to people and have conversation with them. But it was Favreau who took the shot on him, because Paramount at the time nobody wanted to insure him. And then they took a shot on him. That's a different situation. What we're talking about here,
absolutely. But I guess just from the standpoint of, while it may not have been criminal, the idea of going to fix yourself when you're like at the absolute bottom, right, before you jump right back into really high caliber, like they didn't know Iron Man was going to get to that level.
He had a bit of a break. He had the end of what you're talking about. He had that in between time that I think Ezra needs.
Not only to make sure that whatever they went through sticks, but to give us time,
correct,
to be like,
right,
all right, cool. Because I don't think there's a reason why people will watch like The Bachelor and stuff like that for the drama, but a lot of people do not believe any of that as they should, because it's over the course of a couple of weeks.
Right.
Nobody believes that change happens overnight. We know better than that.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. I need them to go away so I can process it along as well as you can.
Because when the comeback happens, and well, here's all the stuff that had happened with Ezra Miller in the past, and now they're working on themselves, and here it is. Okay, well, that was a little while ago. Let's see what they've been doing lately. And then and then the other difference with Downey is that people are always rooting for Downey.
Yeah.
Even when he was in his, because remember, he was on the Ally McBeal, and he was having that real rough spot where it's like another chance, and then he was all messed up and he couldn't show up to work. And you're like, it looked like it was going down the all too familiar path of eventually this guy's going to wind up like dead.
It sounds like I was pretty young and I didn't really know or care as much about Robert Downey Jr. personally, but it sounds like he was like on the precipice of, if not already, an A-lister. Like he was kind of pushing.
He was an A-lister back. He was like, when he was younger, he was in like Weird Science and Back to School and all those movies.
And that's the only difference with Ezra Miller. I know far too many people that have no idea who Ezra Miller is. And that's the thing, is that Ezra, I think with this role, was kind of on the precipice if it genuinely was going to take off like that. But only certain people, like really industry insiders, hardcore superhero movie fans know who Ezra Miller is.
100%. Yeah, and a younger generation, I think, definitely too. You will know Ezra. But anyway, as we know, every time we bring up Ezra Miller, it's a conversation because it's so relevant into what's going to happen. But we're out of time as far as that stuff goes today. But at all the stuff we talked about, and what was the one that stood out to you? As I've mentioned many times on every single show now, the reason why you've seen this show's been doing really well and all the shows have been doing really well because you guys have been commenting and you have been liking the videos. We make a goal to try to do 1,000 comments, 1,000 likes in every episode. And with that, it's been getting the algorithm to show this to more people. It's showing up in the more recommended places and then obviously on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're over there and you're listening, make sure that you leave a review. Make sure that you are rating us. Make sure you're following us on Spotify, all that. That's how you help the show for sure. Please subscribe to the channel. Almost at 70,000 for sure. Leave those comments, man. Let me know. Patreon.com/TheBigThingShow. Get yourself one of those shirts. There's the Black Knight. It's up there right now, man. Go ahead and do it. All right.
The only thing that would have been funnier is if I had looked up and you just had the camera on me when you said it. There it is, the Black Knight.
There he is, the Black Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you. For Winston and myself, Coyle will be back next time. We'll see you.